anything but untimely. And so the universe then has no choice. First attribute of the secret place. The secret place is a place of revelation. It makes you free because it awakens you and makes you consciously aware that everything that you thought was holding you is an illusion. Good evening, good evening, good evening to those of you who are on now and those who are coming. I'm not going to wait a whole long time for people to sign in or join in. I'm going to give it a few minutes, and if we don't have people join in, then I'll just, go off and come back another day. Okay. Because, I don't believe that I know the value of what I'm releasing, and I don't believe that I'm called to minister to just myself. So, people who will say, "Oh, well, why are you worried about numbers?" Because I'm called to people. I'm not called to just me. So I'm going to wait just a few moments, just to see who else will sign in. And maybe the timing is just not a good time anymore. This used to be a pretty good time for everybody, but maybe it's not anymore. Maybe mornings are better now. I'm flexible, so to a degree. to a degree. But we'll give it just a few moments. As you come in, please make a comment, say hello, say good evening or something so that I'll know that you are there. Do that for me if you will, please. Make a comment, say hello, say something so I'll know that you are on with us. Hey, Dee Dee. Hello, Kimoria. Hey, good to see you. I know that there are two of you. We're going to give it just a few more minutes. Few more minutes. Not much longer. I hope that the two of you have had a really good day. Fantastic day, and you're having a good evening. Dee Dee, I know you're at work. But I hope your morning was good and your evening is going as well there at work. Kamori, I hope that you've had a fantastic day as well. Oh, and I answered your inbox, Kamori. If you check your inbox, I sent you that information so that you'll be able to see more in detail what's involved. That's great. Yes. Yes. Just a few more minutes and then we will move on from this place. I want to say to those of you, the two of you that are on right now, just a reminder of what I touched on the other day, the other morning when I came on, that we are in the midst of a great awakening, a real great awakening from this month all the way to the middle of January, somewhere around the 15th or 16th, this period of time, but more specifically in the month of October, that we are experiencing a real awakening where we've kind of hit that curve I talked about, humanity just kind of living life, and then boom, hitting a curve where there is an uptick in conscious awareness. There's an exposure to a deeper knowledge, insight, revelation, understanding, an illuminating light, an intensified, illuminating light shining from within all of humanity across the globe, and that humanity is going through a real shift in awareness, a real awakening in conscious awareness. And it corresponds with the age. If you remember at the beginning of the year, I talked about we are now in the age of Aquarius, which is the age of information technology, and so this period of time directly links and corresponds to this particular age that we are in. And so there is a vast acceleration of conscious awareness that is taking place specifically in this month, but covering a period of time from the beginning of this month until around the 15th, 16th of January, where we become more consciously aware, and you'll begin to see advancements, not only in just general human society, as well as in spirituality and people awakening more to their own divinity, but also a real advancement and acceleration in technology, as well as in natural sciences, uh, around things like solar energy, renewable fuels. And as a matter of fact, I think I said at the beginning of the year that if you are an investor, this is a good time for you to start investing in any types of renewable energy fuel, or any type like solar, wind, um, electricity, because of the advancements that are going to take place. Well, this is that period of time now where you're going to begin to see um, news stories and articles reporting about specific and significant advancements in technology, as well as in earth sciences, where solar energy and wind and AI technology as well. And it's not something that you should be leery or weary of or afraid of. And I know that there are some people who are like, make this really doom and gloom, but it's really not something that we need to be fearful of. It is a necessary development for where humanity is shifting, because humanity, our known humanity in this three-dimensional existence, is really playing catch up with the rest of the universe and other dimensions and other intelligent life and other life forms in other dimensions. We are so far behind. Now, we're not the lowest, of course, but we are so far behind other civilizations, if you will, other life forces, that we are playing catch up. And so we have the advantage of seasons, moments like this one that drastically increase our insight, revelation, knowledge of ourself, of God, of the universe, of the sciences, of technology, so that we can begin to advance and catch up to some of these other life forms and societies that exist in other dimensions and scattered throughout the multiverse. And so you will find that even in your own personal life, that's speaking, when I was speaking before, it spoke very generally, but in your own personal life, you will find that because of this time of year, again, I don't know the reason for that, those of us who are more intuitive, prophetic, empathic, clairvoyant, psychic, have those kind of abilities. It is intensified during this period of time, but because it is now coupled with this drastic awakening that is taking place, you will find that many of you will begin to see an intensity or an intensification of your creativity, of your creative thoughts, creative visionings, creative ideas, witty ideas and inventions. Don't despise or disparage any of the ideas that are coming into your conscious awareness during this time, no matter how absolutely crazy they may seem, no matter how they may seem just like so far outside of the norm, so far outside of the familiar. Do not despise, disparage, or ignore them, because your level of creativity is being intensified, and it's not. And please don't become satiated or satisfied with the just receiving the idea or the vision without going further to pursue not just the what, but the how. Please understand what I just said, to pursue not just the what, but also the how, to look for how you go about executing a strategy. You develop the strategy and then execute a strategy that will accelerate the manifestation of the thing that you have imagined, dreamed, or thought of. So don't dismiss it, and don't despise small things, small beginnings, but pay attention to it and endeavor to pursue, to know as much as you can about it. Be open, be open to the infusion of understanding, insight, and revelation, even questions, because questions are what reveal new information that will enter into your conscious awareness, that are centered around those particular ideas, imaginations, visions that enter, or inventions that come into your conscious awareness. Some of you will be able to use those ideas to not only launch your own self forward, but launch forward in business, in education, in spirituality, in artistry, because these ideas and insights and revelations and new visions that are coming into the conscious awareness of many of you that are watching now and across all of humanity, cover all 7 mountains of influence. And if you are unfamiliar with the 7 mountains, again, I taught about that some way back some time ago. You'll have to go back and just look through some of the videos, I think from last year, the year before, and going back even further, where I talk about those 7 mountains of influence. But these ideas will spring forth new and creative and innovative ways of doing and being and performing, ingenuity and innovation in all areas of influence, from business to government to entertainment, arts and entertainment, to media and spirituality or religion, if you will. But I prefer the word spirituality, and expansion and growth and development across all 7 mountains of influence as new ideas come forth and create pioneers out of people who are thought to be ordinary people doing extraordinary things and becoming pioneers, if you will, in particular fields across the sphere of the 7 mountains of influence. And you have the capacity and the opportunity to be one of those influencers, one of those pioneers, and maybe on a local level, maybe on a statewide level, maybe on a national level, and maybe on a global level. Only you and God would know, but you have that capacity and opportunity as you open yourself to the expansion, the conscious expansion that is taking place throughout all of humanity. And so our perception, our collective perception as a society is beginning to shift. And while it looks like we are more divided than we have ever been, and it doesn't just look like it, it feels like it, it is demonstratively so. We can see those things happening before us, but underneath the surface, underneath what looks like chaos, what is considered darkness, underneath there is a moving of the chess pieces on the spiritual chessboard, if you will, and society is being shifted, and some are being set to the side while others are being advanced, and some are being removed from the board while others are being placed on the board for the advancement of all humanity. And you who are listening to me tonight have both the opportunity along with the ability and capacity to be one of those influencers. It solely comes down to your willingness to open yourself to the possibilities of the Spirit of God that is within you, which is the source of all supply, entering and flooding and penetrating every one of the cracks, corners, crevices of your conscious mind, and filling it with the illuminating light that is birthed out of the darkness. Because darkness, God commands the darkness, yes, the light rather, to shine out of the darkness. Let's say it again, that God commands the light to shine out of the darkness. So he then commands darkness to release light, so that light is able to come and bring illumination. But light is produced by the darkness. darkness. Are you understanding? He says to darkness, let there be light. Allow the light that is intrinsically tied, inextricably tied to the darkness. Let it now leave out of darkness, shine out of the darkness, and begin to bring illumination. And so, in what appears, or not appears, but what is darkness that is moving upon the face of the deep, there is light waiting for the command of allow light to shine. Let there be light. Allow light to shine. Allow revelation, understanding, insight, knowledge to break forth. And so what I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that even during this period where there is this great awakening is always preceded by darkness, by the dark days, by the dark ages, by experiences in darkness. But there is an echo that comes through the dark that allows you to know that within the darkness there is light waiting to be shined. That in many of you that are watching me right now, I didn't mean to go all the way down this way. I was just going to remind you of what I said earlier and then get off and come back later. But I'm here now because I feel the urgency within me to say that many of you that are watching me right now are feeling yourself, sensing yourself, observing yourself coming out of ages, periods, experiences of what most would categorize and describe as darkness, but out of that darkness is light shining. That darkness has given birth to, been the catalyst for, is the seed of causation for light to begin, new light, new illumination, understanding, revelation, and insight to come into your conscious awareness. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Paul kind of illustrates it like this when he speaks in poetic terms and says, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptation. He does not say, count it all joy when you are tempted. He does not say rejoice in the fact that you are tempted and you are able to resist, overcome, and conquer the temptation by not yielding. No, he specifically says, count it joy, rejoice, be happy. Yes, when you fall, when you what? Not when you are tempted, but when you fall into the temptation. It almost seems like a contradiction in terms. Is the apostle then now, Paul now saying that we should glory in our failures, glory in our falls, glory in our weaknesses? Well, the answer is a resounding yes. He even says that of himself in another text where he says, for in my weakness I am made strong. Therefore I glory in my weakness because it produced my strength. And so what he is saying is, count it joy when you fall, because he says, because when you fall, it employs, it begins to activate and employ certain energy forces within you, like peace and patience and wisdom and knowledge and understanding that you would not have had you not had the experience of the fall. He even goes further in the Romans piece during his confession of his own struggle with his own duality. He says, man, the very thing that I said I'm not going to do, I find myself doing, and the things I say that I'm going to do, I don't find a way to get it done. And he says, I've got this inner turmoil and struggle that's taking place within me. And he concludes, and please understand what I just said, he concludes, not God concluded, but Paul concluded. Now, we have a tendency within the church world, within the Christian world, to deify the authors and writers of these letters, books, documents, and historical records, but they were not deities. They were divine spirits, consciously aware of themselves being human, just as you and I were, subject to the same idiosyncrasies and influences as any other natural person. And so Paul, having been influenced by his culture and influenced by the religious upbringing and surrounding and teachings and indoctrination he had received, concluded that there was something wrong with him. Listen to what he says. He says, because when I would do good, evil, he calls it, he labels it, evil is present inside of me, constantly pulling at me. And so with my mind, he says, my spirit, I serve the law of God. My mind, I serve the law of sin. He says there's something wrong because I've got this duality, this light and darkness that's at war, and that are contradicting each other. But what the problem here is that Paul is speaking from the place or the perspective of his own religious experience and influence. He is having the experience inwardly of a different reality that doesn't match the reality that he had been taught to accept by the religious community and indoctrination he had received. And so in order to make sense of what he was feeling, since it didn't match up with what he had been told, he had to then cast himself in the position of a victim. Oh, wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of sin? I, then he says, with my spirit serve the law of God, but in my flesh the law of sin. He says, so when you see me sin, it's no longer me that do it, but sin that dwelleth in me. It's not me, he says. It's not me. It's not my nature. It's not who I am. It's this other part that's inside of me that's warring against who I am. His misunderstanding was of the duality of men, and his thinking was that duality was then negative, one being light, the other being darkness, and that in order to be delivered or free, he needed to annihilate, or as he put it, mortify the deeds of the darkness that was in him, so that the light could become more luminous. What he misunderstood or did not grasp was that there was not the need, oh my goodness, for the mortification of one in the service of the other, because one could not exist without the other. He makes this argument himself in the prior chapter when he says, he begins to talk about the law and himself. He says that the law is not bad. It's the sin that's in me that's bad, because I wouldn't have known sin had it not been for the law. What he doesn't understand or did not carry over was that the light that he experienced was only made necessary by the darkness that dwelled within him. And so instead of trying to mortify the one in favor of the other, he needed to learn how to amalgamate the two and bring them together, channeling that energy so that the dark energy within him could push outward and upward, expanding his consciousness, making room for more light. He limited the amount of light that he could have experienced because he misinterpreted the presence of his dual nature and thought that it was something that he needed to kill, mortify, or destroy. Yet we know from historical record and even his own writing that he struggled internally with these same urges his entire life, right up until the moment that he laid his head on Nero's chopping block. Now, if Paul, being the powerful anointed apostle that we have made him out to be, struggled with this until the day of his death, and was approved, pleased, and anointed by God, explain to me that if the darkness was such a bad thing, why God never removed the darkness, the urges, the desires from him. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Oh, that's not enough for you. Let me bring it a little even closer home, because your Jesus experienced the same thing in the garden, where he says that if it is possible, let this cup pass from me, nevertheless, but not as I will, but as thou hast wilt. Wait a minute, hold on. We run past that. We jump to nevertheless, and thou hast wilt, but we erase where he says, not as I will. In other words, he's saying there is a will within me that does not want to follow through with what is set before me. I don't want to do this. So he had a duality within him demonstrated through the conversation that is recorded and he is purported to have had with himself in talking with the Father. He says, if there's another way, then let's use that, because I am in conflict. I don't want to do this. My humanity is in conflict with my divinity. No, it is my darkness, he thinks, that is in conflict with his light. And then he says, nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou hast willed. That's where he begins to channel both energies, not doing away with one or the other, but focusing them so that he could follow through and fulfill the purpose or the original intent for which he was released into the earth. I'm saying to you that every one of us have within us the presence of both light and darkness, and neither are negative and neither should be annihilated, but one facilitates the other. The task rather is to now bring them into amalgamation, to merge the two so that each of them operating succinctly as they are designed to do will facilitate the work and the ability of the other. The darkness bringing expansion and growth, while the light brings illumination and understanding. The darkness pushing outward and upward, making room for more illuminating light to bring understanding, knowledge. I would not have understood, I would not have known, it would not have been revealed had not darkness consumed and pushed and pressured and repelled, creating space for revelation and understanding that I would never have known had I not experienced the darkness in my life. How many of you that are watching me right now can be honest enough to say that your days of darkness facilitated your moments of light? Let me say it again, that your days days of darkness facilitated your moments of light. That if it had not been for the days, experiences of darkness in your life, you would not have been the creative, powerful, anointed being that you are right now. And even to this day, your darkness, those things that you keep hidden from society, hidden from the public view, hidden from your family and friends, and especially the religious community, but they are the things that fuel you, drive you, motivate you, push you, expand you, and cause you to begin to consider things from a higher, a broader perspective than you would have had those things not been present in your life. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Good night. I didn't mean to go way out there. I was. But are you hearing what I'm saying? Are you hearing what I'm saying? Paul wrestled with this misunderstanding of duality, and it is highlighted when he confesses in the book of Romans, "Oh, wretched man that I am." This is his misperception, misunderstanding of the darkness within him. Kind of like Job, who curses the day that he was born. In the allegories told about Job, after all of the things catastrophically begin to happen in his life, he gets into a verbal boxing match with the divine and says, "I wish I had never been born. I wish I had never come into this earth. Cursed is the day of my birth. And man that is born of a woman is of a few days and full of sorrow," he says. He says, "I'm terrified. I regret my being here." Why? Because he could not come to an understanding at the moment that the darkness was the facilitator for greater light. And so the conclusion of the Job allegory is that once he travels through the darkness, when he comes out on the other side, there is expansion. God, because the story ends with him having more than what he had before the catastrophe and the darkness hit. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Because dark energy is a repellent, scientifically, a repellent energy that pushes outward and upward, creating more space in the universe. The universe is expanding, accelerating in its expansion because of the dark energy. 72 to 73% of the universe is made up of dark energy that's causing it to expand. And likewise, since we are made of the same, our form rather is made of the same substance as the rest of the universe, more specifically the stars. When we go nova, that is a star exploding, what is happening is the dark energy is now expanding, pushing outward open and pushing upward, creating a larger space. And as that space is expanded, it is then filled with other stars and planetary elements. And ladies and gentlemen, as Job's experience brought about expansion, accelerated expansion within his life, it was then filled with the other elements that are pointed out at the end of the story. And so the latter day is better than the former day. And the same is true with Paul. Had he understood, my goodness, I am convinced, ladies and gentlemen, that we did not see the very best of the Apostle Paul. We saw a limited version of him, limited by his own limited understanding of the darkness, his own duality that would have allowed him to soar even further had he, instead of trying to mortify, kill, and destroy it, had just found a way to now amalgamate, merge it, and see its true purpose, because nothing exists within this three-dimensional sphere without purpose. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It does not exist without, I said it doesn't exist without purpose. Even if you look at the allegorical story of the creation narrative, God, after putting them in the garden and Adam and Eve eating of the tree, the scriptures say in the allegory, their eyes are open, their eyes are, they are awakened, their consciousness is activated, their consciousness is expanded, and they become consciously aware of themselves. And so, watch this, because they misunderstood the action of their duality, the gift of their duality, they ran and grabbed fig leaves, and what did they cover? They covered the parts of their body that were designed to produce. They covered their productivity. They covered their reproductive organs. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Wait, you don't believe it? Let me tell you a little further in the story. Let me take you deeper, because as they hid there, hiding in the bushes, covered by the leaves, excuse me, the scripture goes on to say that Adam hears the voice of God walking through the garden in the cool of the day, and he turned to see the voice, and then God cries out, Adam, where are you? And I've said before that when God asks a question, it's not because God doesn't know the answer, because God knows everything. It is because it has a specific meaning to the person he's asking the question to. It's not that God didn't know where Adam was. What he needed to make sure is that Adam became conscious of where he was. And Adam says, still in a discombobulated, confused state, he says, I heard your voice. I was afraid. I hid myself because I was naked. And God asked him, who told you you were naked? Oh, God, have mercy. Watch this. He said, who told you you were naked? The implication is that Adam, who had already been created naked, now had become consciously aware of himself, whereas before he did not see his nakedness as anything wrong, evil, or ungodly. And so God says to him, have you eaten of the tree that I told you not to eat of? Did you hear the question? Have you eaten of the tree that I told you not to eat of? Now, wait a minute. Does it make sense that the all-knowing God, mercy, is now asking what would appear to be a silly, ridiculous question? Because certainly God knew if Adam had eaten of the tree, yet he poses the question so that the awakening can continue in Adam. And Adam, rather than embracing this awakening and his newfound access into the further realms of divinity, but instead turns to victimology and then says, it's not my fault, it's the woman. Lord, and so in his conscious awareness, rather than channeling that energy toward expansion and growth, he then turns it toward victimology and said, it ain't my fault, it's the woman. And the woman said, it ain't my fault, it's the serpent. And the serpent said, well, he don't get a chance to say nothing. And all of a sudden, everything begins to change. And then there are certain pronouncements that are made where man, woman, and the serpent are concerned. I won't get into that piece because I'm trying to get to another place. And that is that once he has made those pronouncements, then God is purported to have said in the narrative, he says, well, man has become as one of us. What did he say? according to the narrative, according to the allegory penned by the writer, God proclaims, well, now man has become like one of us, aware or conscious of good and evil. Y'all didn't catch what I just said. Now, we have been historically, religiously told that man was already like God, perfect and complete, way before the fall, and that when he ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that was not categorized as an expansion or a growth, but as a failure and a fall. But yet the text says that after he partakes of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, not a tree of good and evil, but the knowledge, the awareness of good and evil, now God proclaims, now that he has partaken of the tree, now that he is consciously aware of both light and darkness, good and evil, duality, now he's like one of us, y'all. Lord have mercy. That the awareness of his duality made him more like God, because that God is both light and darkness. Isaiah chapter 45. God created the light and I created evil. Y'all not hearing me. Both of them emanate out of God. God, the progenitor of them both. And God says that now that man is consciously aware of his duality, light and darkness, male and female, yin and yang, y'all not hearing me. Now he has become as one of us. And I just ran right past the us. That's a whole nother conversation. He has become as one of, who's the us? Another conversation. We'll talk about that later. Another conversation. But do you see that the entrance and access of mankind into the fullness of divinity is when God says, because he has eaten of the tree and become consciously aware of good and evil, aware of its duality, now he says humanity has become like God. The fullness of God, knowing both good and evil, light and darkness. Y'all hearing what I'm saying, because one facilitates the other. Yeah, I went way further than I intended to go. I'm telling you, but here I am. Are you hearing me? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the point and the reason behind shadow work. Shadow work, dealing with handling your shadow self, your dark side, is not about eliminating one in exchange for the other. It is about learning how to incorporate it into your total being. It is getting you to shift your perception and your perspective and understand that shadow self, that dark side of yourself, recognizing it as good, positive, powerful, productive, creative energy that is designed to both expand and accelerate you, rather than trying to annihilate it, destroy it, mortify it, or put it to death. Shadow work is finally facing up to owning every part of your being, and not just the acceptable parts that religious and society tells you are okay, but recognizing that every part of me is acceptable and good. Every part of me is divine. Every part of me is powerful and creative. And all I need to learn is how to incorporate those energies, light and darkness, harness it so that I can focus the energy to produce the thing that I desire the most. That's the purpose behind shadow work. It is not the annihilation of your shadow self. It is not the annihilation of the darkness. It is not the annihilation of your duality. It is the incorporation and the amalgamation of it into your whole divinity. Yay. And I don't have enough time to really go into more detail about shadow work. That was really what I was planning on doing tonight before we took a right turn and then a left and went down this street. So I guess I'll go into more detail about shadow work on Sunday. Are y'all gonna be here? Man, y'all don't have me sitting up here talking to 4 and 5 people. Don't do that to me. But Sunday, we'll do that Sunday. But what I need you to understand, if you don't get anything else out of what I've said to you tonight, as we go through this period of time, this great awakening, it is a time for you to come to terms with the totality of yourself, to release, annihilate, tear down the structure of institutionalized hypocrisy that demands that you wear a mask and walk and live in a pretense of your true self, your true authentic self, and recognize that there is absolutely nothing wrong, broken, messed up, jacked up about you, that every part of you is divine. And all you have to learn to do is to incorporate those shadowy, dark parts of your being into the light and focus that energy so that you control it rather than it controlling you. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? You don't want to be controlled, contrived, constricted, or constrained by either the light or the darkness. You want to be able to then amalgamate the two, incorporate them so that you control it and focus that energy like a laser beam so that it creates and manifests the things that you seek and desire. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So that you will begin to be okay with every part of your being. Let me say that again. You need to become at ease and okay and loving and accepting of every part of your being, and be who you are being in the moment until you begin to be something else. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Lord, let me say it again, that you need to be okay with being who you're being in the moment until you shift as a result of the expansion and the illumination of light into that space to be something else. And in every state, in whatsoever state you find yourself, therewith to be content. Oh, God have mercy. Wherever you happen to be at this particular moment, place, time in your life, to be accepting, loving, and okay with who you are being at the moment until the energy within you does its work to expand and create space, and the light that then comes as a result of the expansion fills the space and you begin to be something else. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And even when you begin to be something else, it does not make what you have been bad. It just makes it what you have been and not what you are being. Are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm evolving. I am growing. Life goes on. I've moved forward. I've evolved. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It's not where I've been that was bad or who I was. It's just that who I was is not who I am. Lord have mercy. And I have learned, Paul said, in whatsoever state I'm in, whatever my status, whatever my station, whatever my place, wherever I am at the moment, to be content with who I am, to love me. And if God is for me, who can be against me? Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? That if God is for me, how dare I be against me, and society be against me, and friends and culture and religion be against me? If God is for me, who? Nothing can separate me from the love of God. Nothing can cause God to change his mind about me. Nothing can cause God to ever stop loving me. In whatever state I'm in, God loves and accepts me. So I need to love and accept me, and allow both the light and the darkness to have its perfect work, and create the space expansion that is necessary to evolve me in an accelerated pace toward fulfilling the original intent for which I was released into this earth. This became more of a sermon than a conversation. I was about to say sorry, but I'm not sorry, so I need to apologizing about it. It's the truth. Every part of you, without pretense, without hiding, without masquerading, without mask, without pretending, without trying to cover and trying to fit in and trying to be accepted by a particular religion, a denomination, a societal norm, a family member or a family group or a culture, but to simply love the skin that you are in, the state, the status, and the place and the space that you occupy right now. To be content. I didn't say be satisfied. I said be content. Be content. Be okay. Be accepting. Be loving, while your hunger and thirst drives you to go further and to become more, to be more. But not at the expense of your present contentment in the eternal moment of now. Can you feel me with both hands? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Do you fully comprehend, or do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Are y'all hearing me? Yeah. I got a lot more. Got a lot more. Just not going to get to it tonight. Now, can I be frank? I'm going to stop being Isaac and be frank for a minute. No, I'm kidding. But can I be frank, honest, straightforward, blunt with all of you? Love you so much. But I'm speaking specifically to those of you who are partners, especially. This teaching, this time, these sessions are for you. And if you're not interested and you don't really want to be a part of them, you're not really, you're too busy, man, y'all tell me. Because I could be doing something else too. But if you value it, then be present for it and support it. That's all I'm saying. I know that's blunt, that seems harsh and hard, but it's real, it's true. If you value it, then be present and be supportive. Support it with your time, talent, and your treasure. Be present with your time, talent, and your treasure. Support it. Help me to help you. Okay? So, all right. few housekeeping things. You know what? I won't worry about making those kind of announcements and stuff like that on here tonight. I'm not going to worry about that. I will encourage you to go by the bookstore, pick up a copy of my new books. As you know, I've got a couple of them that are out right now. 2 new books that have been released that are hot off the presses right now. And you can go over to the AIM online bookstore and you are able to place your order for them right now. Now, there's some of you that have already ordered Inner Sense, and let me say, I know there's a delay in your getting the book. It is only because there is a delay in Federal Express getting the books to me. If you could have heard me on the phone arguing and fussing with these people because these books should have been here a long time ago, days ago. And I was on there fussing and carrying on with them again today. And I'm like, you got to give me a solid day when I can expect these books to be here because I have orders to fill. So please be patient. Be more patient than I'm being because I gave them the business. But they assured me that by Friday they will be here. And I told them if they're not at my door by Friday, I'm going to be at their door. And it's not going to be pretty. So those of you who have already ordered, you should, if they get to me on Friday, I will ship them out on, well, no, they don't, they've stopped doing Saturday mail, so I'll ship them out on Monday, which means that you should get them by Wednesday. Okay? I will ship them by Monday so that you should get them by Wednesday. But please go ahead and order your copy of the books, Words to Live By, Volume 2, and Inner Sense, Developing Your Inner Spiritual Senses. I appreciate your support in purchasing the book. Many of you had asked me, I've had several people inbox me, text me, and ask me about doing mentoring and life coaching and mentorship program. I have finally pulled it all together. I told you I was working on it. And so now I am proud to be launching the Emergent Life Coaching and Mentorship Program, where I will offer mentorship and life coaching and teaching, one-on-one coaching, teaching, life coaching, and mentorship for those who are interested. It is not free. There is a cost associated with it because it is valuable. So you ought to be willing to invest in yourself. You can go to the website, www.aimministriesint.org/life coaching, and you'll be able to see all of the different programs that are offered for the life coaching and mentoring, and you can subscribe and sign up for whatever program best fits you. I'm going to ask those of you who are still on. There are a lot of people who've already jumped off, of course. Whenever I start having this part of the conversation, people jump off. They come on for the meat and then run when it's time to do the supporting. But those of you who remain, I'm going to ask you to make sure that you sow a seed tonight, give in support of the work that we are doing. Quite a bit of work, quite a bit of expansion. It's only right. It's an honor and a privilege for you to be able to sow into the life of someone who is teaching and pouring into you and mentoring you through this type of teaching. So go ahead and send your offering tonight. You can use Cashapp, Zelle, or PayPal. Any one of those is absolutely fine. But do send your seed, your offering tonight as an expression of your love and a demonstration of your value for what you are receiving. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope that you were encouraged, blessed, and enlightened by the conversation tonight, the teaching tonight. Have a wonderful night, and I look forward to seeing all of you again real soon. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in. And be sure to catch us every Sunday at 7 p.m. for empowerment.
That we are a unique expression.
Every Thursday at 7 p.m. for momentum.
The creation of God. God and the God who created him.
Once again, be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. And we'll see you next time.